306 yards. He's thrown 3 touchdowns. Pressure in the end zone, a flag in the end zone, and a big hit just outside of the end zone.
I think you're going to get a
Dallas
safety
Young.
on this.
Yes.
If this hold.
You got a chance to win your last 3, going into the offseason. Just what kind of momentum you think that could create?
I don't know what kind of momentum it can create. I mean, I want to create momentum. I want to win too. That's just to continue to put wins on the board, and have W attached to your name is really what it's about as you go into signing day and you go into recruiting.
You guys you knocked ULM out of a bowl. You made Southern Miss have to work to win the West. Texas State, you could knock them out of the bowl. I mean, it's playing spoiler. Has that been anything you've discussed to try to ruin somebody else's season, that sort of thing?
We've talked about that in here, and that's just not going to be who we are. We win for ourselves. We win for the work that we put in. Trying to blow somebody else's candle out doesn't make yours much brighter. It's about what you do and your program, and that's where our mindset is.
Devin Boyson's last game, we think.
Right.
But just talking about what he's meant to this program. I mean, he's been here longer than you have,
right.
Literally. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
What's he meant to this program over the years?
A lot. I mean, that's a cheap answer, but he's just his dedication, his story. He's got so many different stories, in terms of whether it was Colin Lacey playing ahead of him and getting a lot of catches, even though he's a really good player, then coming back from a knee injury. Just his dedication to the program. I mean, there's all kind of money out there now. All kind of money. I mean, you can pay your 10th receiver on scholarship $180,000, and there's all kind of reasons to leave. But his dedication to the program, his dedication to his teammates, it's obvious that he's a really good football player. But he's just one of those guys as coaches, and they'll tell you is you just never have to worry. Is he focused? Is he wanting to play? Does he have great effort? Is he concentrating? Is he about the team and not his catches? Like you don't have to worry about that. And usually somewhere in those 4 or 5 things that I mentioned, there's something with somebody. And with him, it's been very easy for me to coach him for the last 5 years. I've really loved coaching him. He's responsive. He carries the message as an assistant to the other players. I mean, as a leader to the other players. I can't say enough good things about him. I really can't. And it's, I know sometimes coaches get on and they say things and they go on and on and on about a guy, and you kind of wonder, like, is he really that good of a guy? He is. He's every bit of that. He's going to be a tremendous asset to whatever team he goes to in April.
Texas State, what do they do that concerns you?
A lot of similarities, in terms of the tempo that they'll play with. Some of the formations and personnel groupings, Texas State may get in a few more formations and personnel groupings than Southern Miss did, but the tempo will be there. Their quarterback is healthy as a horse. Brad's a phenomenal player. Great in the pocket, great outside of the pocket, looks to throw, accurate, can finish runs. I mean, you watch the Arkansas State game. I mean, he's outrunning defensive backs into the end zone. And I'm not talking about from the 10 and 15-yard line. I'm talking about from midfield and minus territory. So he's a great runner. And that's something we didn't have to face last week, with the injury. So we're going to have a heavy task in terms of what they do offensively and some of the personnel that they have.
Game like last week, I mean, is it kind of the best of both worlds where you win, but you also have the teaching point of we didn't finish the way we needed to?
Yeah, I think any coach that's worth his salt is always going to try to find something to make his team better. It is human nature. There's not a single person walking this planet after a successful event that says, man, I kind of have it. You have to fight that. You have to fight that human nature and go, okay, it's great that we won. It's outstanding. We got the result that we wanted. Let's go back and examine the process in which we went about to go get that win. All right, where are some things that are hanging off the edge of the table that we need to clean up that are not good? We didn't turn the ball over, but we talked to the offense this morning, but we sped through the school zone several times, and we never got popped. But several times that ball was out. Bishop, on your touchdown, you're reaching for the ball. On some of those long runs, Kentrell, you're going through the hole, the ball's low. Rod, you make a great catch on the sideline. Anthony, make a great catch on the sideline. Ball's on your inside arm. So those are the things that when we have a win, we go back and examine those things, and we still got to get better at that. I had a bad call on the first drive on 4th and 4. Those are things that you've got to go back and look at them. If you don't, then it's going to come up and it's going to hit you. And you're going to go back and say, I should have addressed that 3 or 4 weeks ago. So we're always going to look at it defensively. That's middle of third quarter, end of third quarter, start of fourth quarter. That's where our focus is. In terms of where were our eyes, where was our leverage on certain routes. And we got to improve in those areas. And that was the frustrating thing to me out of the game. I was extremely happy for the win. Don't get me wrong. Very grateful for the win. Just guys, it didn't have to feel like this. We didn't have to put the onside team out there. We could have been doing this about 9 minutes earlier, but we've got to play better on offense and extend some of these drives where we punted the ball twice and made the defense play defense, and then defense we got to be able to get off the field too.
Did you ever get an explanation on the holding in the end zone?
I did. I don't know because the angle is hard to see, but the way it was explained to me is if you throw from the end zone and there's holding, that doesn't mean it's a safety. The hold has to occur in the end zone, which it did. But if the hold starts outside of the end zone and carries into the end zone, then the hold is technically declared outside of the end zone and it's not a safety. So it's hard. I mean, hell, I've never been an official, but it's hard to tell when you're at his angle, where is that goal line because you're behind the quarterback, and so it's a hard angle to see. I don't even know if it's a reviewable play. The thing I don't know about is if you're holding a guy in the end zone, obviously he's getting ready to sack the quarterback, and if you're holding a guy on the 1 inch line, he ain't that far away either. So, I mean, it just seems to me like not the officiating, but the rule itself is if you're throwing the ball from the end zone and you're holding, it should be safety. But I don't, I'll let the officials figure out how they want to apply the rule.
What did you take away from how well you played in the first half, but not as well in the second half?
Yeah, I thought the guys played really, really hard, man. I was excited about how well they played, and part of that was on me as the play caller, playing it a little bit looser, maybe trying to play a little bit more top down on some of their routes. They got into 10 personnel, and we probably played a little bit looser than we needed to. Had to make some adjustments in terms of personnel and some coverage things that we're doing. Actually ended up putting Ty Goodwill into the boundary so we could play some man concepts over there to help on some of those routes and things like that. So that was probably a lot of on me more than anything. And so, but the first half, I thought, the first play, they try to run it, ball spits out of the boundary, Cole Blaylock comes up, knifes the guy down. I just thought we were playing really hard. And, if teams, you felt like, they had to go to that flea flicker there to score those points. And, you feel like if you're making teams resort to plays like that, then you're doing a really good job. And so I thought we handled the run game really well. I thought that the twist games up front were really good for us, and the movements up front out of 4 down and 3 down, I think, was really hard on them, and that was good. We saw that as an advantage going into the game, and we were able to execute that. And so I think we got to continue to do that and continue to find ways that we can put our guys in position. We were in odd front. They tried to run outside zone. Janier knifes up the field and makes a TFL there, and they tried to put the ball on the perimeter a couple times. Dallas Young played really well on the perimeter for us this week. So I think our guys did a great job of understanding the opponent we were playing. They stayed on top of the tempo. They did some really good things in terms of, we talked about how you handle tempo is getting your eyes to the sideline, get the call, communicate the call, do those things. And I thought our guys did a great job with that in our week of prep. And we played well early on because we practiced well throughout the week. And I think that had a lot of carryover. So excited to have another good week of practice this week and keep rolling.
Texas State, you guys have always kind of had trouble stopping them. What did they do so well?
Yeah, they do everything well, unfortunately. They obviously it starts with their quarterback, Brad Jackson. He's a phenomenal athlete. He can run the ball. He can get the ball on the perimeter quick. He can throw the deep ball. He just brings a lot of different elements to the game. They've got speed all over the field. Sparks he can fly. And, you see even their running back, Lincoln Perry, from Arkansas State to now at Texas State. I've watched him for, I feel like, his whole career. I feel like him and Chris Wallace, I feel like, are both like 38 years old, and they've been in the Sun Belt for that long. And, he just runs hard. He has great vision, and they can make you pay a lot of different ways. And they do GJ does a great job in terms of scheme, because a lot of times teams that run tempo, they almost simplify their scheme to go fast. That they're putting the premium on going fast and then saying, all right, well, we've got these base plays that we run, and that's not what GJ does. He goes fast and runs some complicated schemes, so it puts a lot of stress on you, and the wide splits put stress on you in the run game, and then you've got, do we tie guys into the box? Well, now he's going to stress you out with the route concepts on the outside. So they just do a really good job all the way around. So it's a huge challenge, and I think for 4 years here so far, even going all the way back, this has been a tough game for us. And so we've got to have a great week of prep and just find ways that we can put our guys in position to make plays.
defensive line, you guys have started to rotate some younger guys in it. You know, I saw Janeer Armstead. I was like, I didn't even remember he was on the team. You know, you have guys that have not played a whole lot that are starting to play a lot more. Just what are you seeing out of that group?
Yeah, I think for a couple of reasons. One, you don't you want to start to build some. The whole thing about young guys is development, and if you don't ever play, you can't develop. You know, and I think that's part of that is getting those guys in. Tyler Carter's starting to get some reps. Janeer's getting reps. You know, those guys, you know, Achilles got a sack the other day. So I think those guys are starting to play more and more and more for development, but also because it can keep you fresh. And when you're playing a team that's tempo, when you're playing a team that goes fast, the more that you can sub and keep those guys fresh and keep their rep counts down, the more that they can help you later in the game, you know, whether it be run or pass rush situations. So I think there's a lot of those type things as well.
What have you seen from Texas State? That they're starting to put things together now. They struggled, you know, pretty tough for a while, but now they're where we thought they would be.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny because when you watch them on offense, I think they're still scoring a lot of points. I mean, it's not like, I mean, they're averaging almost 500 yards a game. So it's not like, I don't know that for us to look at it from the defensive side of the ball, I think they've had things together. You know, they're going to score a lot of points. They're going to get a lot of yards, and that's where, you know, our big stress, even starting today in meetings, has been, hey, stay on top of the big shots. Kind of was our thought process going into Southern Miss. Stay on top of the big shots, handle the run game, make sure we're fitting the run the right way, and don't just let it become, you know, air balls. It don't make them just chunk the ball over our head. And, you know, I thought against Southern Miss, outside of the flea flicker that they had on their sideline, and then there was one post ball that Seven caught there in the second half, where they got us, and we were in quarters and they got us there. Outside of that, you know, I thought we did a good job of that against Southern Miss. You know, and that's where I think these guys make a lot of their heyday. We were just watching a game from earlier in the season where it was like their top 4 plays, it was like gain of 73, gain of 68. So they have that ability, and that's where I think offensively we've got to make sure we stay on top of those concepts. And we may give up some 15, 16, 20-yard passes, but we can't give up the 75, the 80, the huge ones. And that's because that's a recipe for disaster. And so as long as you can stay on top and force them, you know, just make them go the long, hard way. You know, the other day they scored a touchdown, but it was an 18-play drive. And we feel like if you can force an offense to do that, that's going to frustrate offenses. They want to hit the big play. And if you can force them to drive down the field, eventually you hope that they mess it up more than you do, and that way you can get off the field. So I think that's a big part of it. Just, you know, I don't know that from an offensive standpoint, I think they've been there all year. So we've just got to do it. We got a great challenge, and I'm excited to see how our guys, you know, answer the bell. We've done well the last 2 weeks in terms of, you know, doing some good things against the run game and handling some things, some adversity even in games. So I'm excited to see what Saturday holds.
In the run game the other day, there were several plays where y'all just kind of popped it wide open, not even touch getting in the second level.
Yeah.
What was the key to doing that?
I think one of the things, they were running their ends up the field, so far up the field to try to contain our quarterback that left some gaps open. But our offensive line just did a really good job fitting up on their double teams and working up to the linebacker. But they were really concerned about the perimeter movement stuff, and I think that helped us pop it. But the backs did a great job of seeing it. The O-line did a great job of just working their double teams up to the linebacker and fitting it, and they just did a great job.
Texas State seems like they've improved defensively the last couple of weeks. What
Yeah.
have they done?
They've ran a little. They've changed up their scheme a little bit. They've been going a little bit more 3 high safety stuff to try to stop the big play, and you know, I just think they've been executing a little bit better. But personnel wise, up front, they're really good. Number 2 is as good a player as there is in the league, in my opinion. You know, Alexander, he runs around, makes plays with unbelievable effort. He's really good in the run game, blows people up, and then he's good in the passing game, getting the pass rush. And then you got number 8 inside that's big and physical and gets after you, and then you got 0 on the other end. So they're really talented up front, and that's definitely something we got to do a good job against.
This is Devin's last game, we think. Just what's he meant to your group and the team as a whole?
You know, I don't have enough adjectives to give him the credit that he deserves. You know, he's just, number 1, he's a great young man. He's an unbelievable leader. He shows up and works hard every single day. He's super smart. He can help every single position on what to do and how to do it. And he's just been a great example. I tell the guys all the time, I'll stop tape all the time and
exactly how to run a route, paying attention to little details, and he's everything that you hope that a young man grows up to be, and I'm sure his family is super proud of him. I know I'm super proud of him, and I'll miss him.
You're able to get Jared in for a series, and you score on that series. What does that do for him?
I think it does a lot. I mean, I think it gives him great confidence, in himself and his teammates' confidence in him. And there's nothing like playing in a game. So I think it was great that he got in there and then played really well, made a great fake on the one, got the tight end wide open in the flat, and he just did a lot of good things. So that was really good for him and good for the program.